thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Fred Shinbur, and you are watching Through a Veteran's Eye. Our program today will provide you veterans, veterans' families, and veterans' friends with information concerning benefits and services that are available. Once again, this program is our way of saying thanks for all you, as veterans, have done for this great nation. I'll remind you of the telephone number of Maryland's Commitment to Veterans Behavioral Health Services, which is a hotline for veterans and their families needing help with behavioral health issues, as well as many other issues that veterans might encounter. That number is 1-877-770-4801. Welcome home. Today we have two guests. First guest, we're rejoined by Mr. Phillip Munley, who is the Director of the Veteran Service Program for the Maryland Department of Veterans Affairs. Welcome back, Phil.
Thank you, Fred. Thanks for having me back.
Pleasure. And we are also joined by Mr. Ronnie Hooten, who is a Veterans Benefits Specialist right here in Hagerstown. And thank you, sir, for coming over to seeing us today.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll get more into the meat of this. What I'd like to do now is take the opportunity to introduce your veteranship, if you will, to our viewing audience. I'd like for them to know about your status as military. First of all, were you both military?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Good. Okay, thank you. I think I'll start with you, Phil. Right. Were you enlisted or were you drafted?
Well, Fred, I was an enlisted guy. Joined the Navy right out of high school. Very proud to have served 21 years in the service. I'm a Baltimore guy when I first started, like I said, right out of high school. My career is a little unusual in that I spent 12 years in recruiting, and of that 12 years of a 21-year career, I actually spent in my hometown. So a little different than most careers, but I retired from the Navy in 2002 and have been serving veterans ever since. So this is a lifetime calling for me.
Wow, absolutely. Well, I guess you're too junior to me to be drafted. I guess they've since abolished that by the time you came around, I guess.
The answer to that would be yes, Fred.
Thank you very much for keeping that. And of course, what I'm about to say is that's kind of scary, and I'm sure if they send emails, send it to another number, not this one, but being a Navy and recruiter at the same time, that's...
Right.
Anyway, moving right along on that.
Well,
what kind of you recruiter, obviously, did you have any other specialty in the Navy?
I started out, Fred, as a torpedoman. They were kind of phasing out torpedoes. You know, we worked a lot on submarines at the time. Spent 5 years on a ship down in Norfolk. And funny story is the detailer on the command master chief of the ship I was on, actually upon his transfer became the detailer. And I'd gotten to know him through our time on the ship. And so when it came time for me to leave, I actually thought about getting out at first, but he reached out to me and said, hey, I'll give you 3 years of shore duty in your hometown. So it sounded like a good deal to me. I took it.
Yeah.
And you know, it just kind of led to a wonderful career for me.
Oh, that is great. We're gonna, after we get, I have another question. I want to follow up with that in your military career in a second. Ronnie, you're obviously a younger generation than me. I assume you enlisted?
Yes, I did. I enlisted in 1983 in the delayed entry program. Went to boot camp in August of 1984. I am a retired Navy hospital corpsman. Did some time recruiting, which was my last tour of duty before I retired. I was able to teach hospital corpsman A school, teach other individual enlisted people how to be and train to be corpsmen. I've did some ship time. I've did some time with the Marines. I've deployed to Iceland, Haiti, Okinawa. Had a big, broad career and thoroughly loved it. And I retired in 2004 and have been working for veterans ever since.
Being a corpsman, Navy, I assume you spent you spent a little bit of time with Marines.
Yes.
Not a lot?
Just
you
a little
deploy
bit of time.
With the Marine Corps?
Was deployed to Haiti in support of a CB battalion and a fast company of Marines for security.
You weren't deployed, because most Navy corpsmen, I mean, that's a job that, well, you just well to be wearing the Marine uniform. Basically, you go wherever they go. And
exactly.
Well, interesting. And you say you retired in 2004.
Yes.
And what were some of the other jobs you had? What other than recruiter?
I was a recruiter, an instructor, I've worked overseas. I worked on the USS Saratoga. I did her last deployment and decommissioned her down in Mayport, Florida.
Interesting. Well, recruiters is kind of like the internet. You know, if you read it on the internet, it's true. If you heard it from a recruiter, it's true. Is that a fair statement?
Without a doubt.
Exactly.
Without a doubt.
It was.
Yeah.
Well, this is the question I wanted to get to based off your current position. And your job in the military, those 21 years,
Right.
And the same questions come to you, Ronnie. Did that have the benefits and all you did, how did that flow over into your civilian?
Well, you know, that's just a great question, Fred, and I appreciate you asking it. In the job that we have now, I mean, daily we deal with veterans, their family members, their dependents, and their survivors. And as you are well aware, you know, we all serve in different places, during different times, at different locations. So you have to develop the skill of being able to interview folks, drawing out, you know, their experience. You know, some people don't want to talk about some past experiences. So it's a skill that you develop, I think, in recruiting, being able to interview someone and draw things out of them. That really is going to benefit them now in the VA process. So I think it's a natural transition for a lot of folks. I tend to find that prior recruiters do very well in our business just because of being able to interact and interview people, and they're just comfortable being in that environment. Not that other folks aren't, mind you.
I get you. That's pretty
But
good.
it seems like a good natural flow.
Good. Ronnie, do you have something different than that?
I have to agree with Phil on that. You know, being the recruiter and being able to talk and communicate, I think what brings more with me to it is being a Navy hospital corpsman, working with the sick and injured, and knowing how to communicate with people who are not feeling well and not doing well. I think that brings a lot of talent with it. And, you know, and also, as I've discussed with Phil, I'm a social worker by trade with my degree, so I bring a little of that skill with it, with the compassion and the understanding. But I think the recruiting is really, you know, they teach you how to communicate. And I think with, you know, working in the medical field and knowing how to deal with people when they're not feeling well and talking to them about when they're talking about medical terms or I don't understand this, I can relate to them a lot with that. So I think it brings a lot into it.
And obviously, I agree with the same thing. Infantry, a lot of folks I've interviewed, you know, if you were trained as an infantryman, what does that teach you for life after the military? Well, you may not come out out of the military into the civilian world wanting to tear down an M16 or a 45 or something, but it's not the act of tearing it down or breaking it down and putting it back together. It's the discipline that it takes to do that. And that's what I think the military
Without a doubt.
sends out to the civilian world is the discipline. So this all has a point, is to get to our viewers that there is a life after, that the military can provide.
Right.
A really serious, profitable, and wonderful life after the military. And so it has its benefits. There's some drawbacks, but for the most part, it's very, very beneficial. Well, we ran out of time already on this segment. There's many other questions I'd love to ask. I'd like to get feelings about how other things, your family life, how that all happened, how it's all handled in the military, but we'll get back to that. So we'll be right back. See you in a moment. Thank you and welcome back to Through a Veteran's Eye. I'm Fred Shinbur, and we're joined by Phil Munley and Ronnie Hooten from the Maryland Department of Veterans Affairs. And they're here to talk about several of the issues that come up through MDVA, particularly in regards to as benefits and claims. Phil, as the director, can you tell us why it's important for them to pursue issues that are related to military service?
Sure can, Fred, and thanks for the question. It's just real important for someone who served this great nation of ours in any branch of service. If they've had any type of an injury or any type of an illness or disease that was related to that military service, it's critical for them that upon their discharge that they pursue an issue through the VA in order to establish service connection for that condition. And there's two main reasons we like folks to do that. And I think as folks move throughout their life, they see why it's so important. The thing to remember is, one, if you have success in your claim, is that the VA then treats that condition medically for the rest of their life. And that can mean medications, that can mean orthopedic devices, it can mean a whole bunch of things that can just make a veteran's life easier as they move throughout the years. So that's the first reason. The second reason is there can be a monetary benefit that can be assigned if a veteran is injured in service and they have some kind of a chronic disability related to that injury, then the VA can compensate them for it. And especially as we move through life and get a little bit older, circumstances of life change, that monetary benefit that may not seem important when they're younger becomes real important when they reach the later years of life. So those are the two main reasons that we encourage folks to do this.
Excellent. And I think one of the pieces of information that you said that we've talked about before is to keep everything, every piece of paper you're given from the military.
Absolutely.
Keep everything.
Right.
I certainly didn't do that, but until later on, but keep everything.
Right. The process has become so convoluted over the years. Documentation is the key, and the more documentation you have or you can present, the better off you're going to be.
Last time we spoke, there were some issues with claims in the VA in Baltimore.
Right.
And I'm certainly not here to get controversial.
Right.
And I know you're not either. You just
Right.
speak the facts.
Right.
What's an update on that?
Well, I mean, things have changed a little bit down there nationwide. I think the last time we were here, Fred, nationally, the VA claim backlog had kind of hit its peak. They have changed some things. They've got several new initiatives in place now. The claim tracking system that they use now it's called the Veterans Benefit Management System. There's an acronym from everything,
Sure.
of course, VBMS for short, and it's an electronic system. So there's no more of the old VA claim folders.
Yeah.
They were these huge trifold things that they had. And Fred, some of them grew so large, one folder could be in a box. I mean, that's just how large some of these things are. So it's completely electronic now. So everything is kind of right at your fingertips. So that's an update, and that's a good thing. Another initiative that the VA is kind of kicking off, something's called a national work queue, where they can take work away, say, from a busier regional office throughout the country and assign it to some place maybe that doesn't have the volume that some of the busier places, to kind of help move through things a little bit quicker.
Well, I guess that's pretty important to hear. But the claims, the numbers, is it dropping?
Well, I can't say that overall number of claims have dropped. They are getting to claims a little quicker. Numbers aren't as easy to access now as they once were, but I have noticed overall an improvement. A lot of the leadership has changed, and what the VA, they're in the customer service business. I think they're really kind of coming to grips with all that. Their job is those who have served our great nation. Those are their customers, and that's who they're serving. And they're trying to invent ways to make that happen in a more streamlined basis.
They, especially the regional office in Baltimore, because that was one of the hot offices in the country before. And so you're saying that things are in an uptick a little bit?
Incrementally, they are improving. I mean, there's still areas, things don't happen overnight, as we all know, being in the service. It's, you don't go to bed one night, wake up the next morning, and things are better. So incrementally, things have improved. There's still areas that they're working on. Appeals is still an issue. I mean, they know that. I mean, they're working on those things. Things that they call a non-rating, those areas where the VA doesn't have to make a decision on service connection, but yet they just make little tweaks to a person's claim, adding a dependent. If you're drilling in the reserves and yet drawing money, there's offsets for drill pay. Military retirees, there's offsets there. Those things are called non-ratings. So they got kind of pushed into a background for a little bit. So they're coming to address those issues as well. So they're incrementally, the answer to the question is yes, there have been improvements.
Okay. That answers it. And I guess in the spirit of keeping this lively, livelier, back to the previous segment, it might have helped if they were Navy recruiters, these people?
Well, no, without a doubt, Fred. I mean, we all serve the same country, of course, all
There you
except
go.
on the second Saturday in December, of course, when we play that Army-Navy game. And,
Oh, yeah, I happen to read
let's
that
not talk about
the very
it
first
today.
game Navy did beat Army at the very 18-something. I think that was even before my time.
Right.
So let's just throw that in there. What recommendation would you have to veterans who are just now in the claims process?
Well, the recommendation is, Fred, one, that as you mentioned, make sure that you bring in, when you come to start the process, as much complete documentation as you can, your DD-214s, medical records if you have them, and you always, always, always want to work through an accredited representative. Don't go in the claim process by yourself. Have someone on your side as you begin the process.
Excellent, excellent recommendation. Ronnie, let's switch over to you a little bit. You're a hometown young man from living here in Hagerstown, and we respect that, as those of us that live here in Washington County, to be able to have a local source that knows the area. Can you give us an update on your service center here in Hagerstown?
Well, the Hagerstown office is now open Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4. I am there to help all veterans, dependents, spouses, surviving spouses with their claims, or answer their questions, or just do whatever I can for them to help them through any process they need in the community.
Very good. And it's not just the veterans, it's their family members, spouses connected to a veteran, of course. Is that what
Yes,
okay.
anybody connected to a veteran, even if it's a family member whose brother has passed away or father has passed away, and a sibling needs to help out or figure out what they need to do, we're there to help answer those questions for them.
Good. Well, based on the previous one, being a recruiter and the Navy, you learn to associate with other members and the desire to help your veterans. I understand you have veterans health and benefits experience before. This isn't something brand new.
Yeah,
Can you elaborate on that, please?
I worked at the Martinsburg VA, actually. I worked in the mental health center. I was a certified peer support specialist. So I helped veterans, learn how to advocate and help themselves and get them through the program and help them, which helped me along to understand the benefits process. I helped some veterans, apply for their aid and attendance while they were there when they were getting out or ready to go on. So having the VHA experience, I think will bring along to help me with the VBA experience.
Very good. And we're going to take a short pause right here, and we're going to get right back on that. Please stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment. Thank you. And welcome back to Through a Veteran's Eye. I'm Fred Shinbur, and we're joined by Phillip Munley and Ronnie Hooten from Maryland Department of Veterans Affairs. We were speaking with Ronnie about his current position with MDVA here in Hagerstown as a Veterans Benefits Specialist, and we were talking about your qualifications and how this kind of went into your working with benefits and what have you. You have an office here in Hagerstown now.
Yes, we have our office in Hagerstown is now open full-time Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4.
Well, you had mentioned that earlier, but I do remember one time it wasn't open that often or that regularly. Maybe that's the
Right. It
best
was
phrase.
temporarily from August to about the beginning of November. Was open 2 days a week until they would get somebody hired and put in the position.
Okay, but it is open now.
It's open and
5
going
days a
5
week
days a
and
week.
Typical state holidays and stuff like that, though.
Yes.
Is that correct to say?
Exactly.
Okay, did you catch my...
Yes,
Okay,
I caught
thank
that.
you very
Yes.
much.
It was state
Okay,
holidays.
Okay, all right. And can you tell us where it is? Is it still in the same location?
Yes, it's at 33 West Washington Street, room 201, and it's in the old district court building.
And it's go up a set of stairs, right?
Stairs or elevator. It does have. It is
there's an
handicap
elevator.
accessible.
Okay. I was that was my next question. Get an older guy like me to have to, because there's a lot of stairs there.
There
If I
are.
remember right, but there is an elevator to get
Yes,
to you.
there is an
Okay.
elevator.
Okay. Well, during those hours of 7:30 to 4, what kind of services will you be providing?
I'll be providing, be able to help people with claims, discuss their benefits with them, do any kind of stuff with the veteran. If it goes to claims, goes to death benefits, if it comes to a spouse or a surviving individual, I'll be able to work with them to get them enrolled, help them enroll in VA healthcare with their VA 1010 EZ. I can help them fill out the form. They take it to enrollment eligibility to get them enrolled if they're eligible for VA healthcare. Anything that comes with VA compensation, doing their claims, working with them with any benefits. It could be educational benefits. They need to fill out for their GI Bill, their 9/11 GI Bill. Those are the kind of things that I can do for the veterans.
I think this is the question that, I don't know if it's asked of you two yet frequent or not, but it's certainly something that's near and dear to me. Are there any charges from the veteran to you? Are we charged for this service?
Absolutely not. It's all free service provided by the state.
Even if there's a claim that's approved by VA and I get money, there's no percentage to?
Absolutely nothing. We are there to provide services for the veteran, and we are state employees paid by the state.
Okay. I was thinking of that because of a previous segment where we were talking about Navy recruiter and catch. Okay.
Well, I appreciate you again bringing that up.
Yeah.
You know, and if I can, Fred, I just want to bring up one point. As Ronnie mentioned, our services are completely free.
Good.
They're paid for by property tax dollars, of course. Mm-hmm. The benefit to folks that do come into our program, of course, the program is statewide. We run 10 offices statewide. We're at a very low cost to taxpayers. And yet, through the services that we do provide, last year, veterans in the state of Maryland received over $26 million in federal benefits that came into the state. Many economic studies will show you that money turns over 3 to 7 times.
My goodness.
So, you just do the math. That's about an $80 million spending impact in Maryland. The state spends, in our program, our 10 offices, maybe just over $1 million. So that's about an 80-to-1 return on investment. We think we're pretty cost effective for our veterans.
That's great. And the service that you provide, I guess, not just in the monetary, my opinion, just not in the monetary, but I think the peace of mind.
Exactly.
And the veteran and their family. Money always helps. The monetary aspect of it is a big deal, but yet I think the peace of mind of being approved or have something adjudicated in your favor that you earned 50 years ago.
That's exactly
in my
right.
case.
That's exactly right.
Veteran. Well, do you have, to follow up on a little bit of, is there a preference between generations of veterans, or is it to all veterans?
It's to all veterans, but our main emphasis should be still to be the Vietnam veterans that need to know that with the Agent Orange that came out and was passed, that they really need to know that they need to be coming in and talking with me to find out their eligibility, especially if they're in country or around country when it comes to Agent Orange, to know that they maybe have something going on in their health that can be contributed related to Agent Orange, and we need to be able to put in a claim so they can be compensated for that.
I think that excellent idea and suggestion, Ronnie, that it's better to know one way or the other than not know, and what does it take a little time to find out, a little time and effort, because there are various, Agent Orange aren't there various presumptive circumstances now? I'm not, I'm green at this.
Well, I have a whole list actually in the office. I have a handout, and the veteran can come in and I can give them the handout if they tell me the symptoms. For instance, diabetes. If they've contracted diabetes over that can be related back to Agent Orange. Prostate cancer can be related back to Agent Orange. So they really need to come in and talk with me and sit down and I can go over that list and we can look at it and look at their medical records, get the documentation, and file a claim. It's very simple and it's not a lot. It does take a lot of time, and it educates the veteran on what's going on.
And it doesn't pertain just to branch of service either, right? It's all 5 branches,
right?
Correct.
If you served in country or in a surrounding area that's considered under that classification, yes, any branch of service.
Okay, and I think I have been approached by many folks about, well, I was in, seriously, no cuteness now, but they were in the Air Force or they were in the Navy and they were out deep water and they didn't know, and so they didn't follow it up.
Right.
But as you actually do some research and have some people leading the way for them, which is what you guys
Exactly.
do,
Right.
they found out different, that they are entitled to some.
Well, and it's even critically important to their spouses. If a Vietnam vet would eventually pass away of one of those Agent Orange related conditions, their spouse then could qualify for an annuity payment for the rest of her life, even if the veteran had never filed a claim. So it's just life-changing stuff.
Oh, excellent. How can the veterans and folks, how can we get a hold of you now, Ronnie?
My number is 301-791-0356. I'm still new to the office. I can't memorize my own number.
That's like your service number. Do you remember? Well, yeah, Social Security number.
That
wasn't it?
I
So-
cannot
all right.
forget.
Us, my age, it wasn't Social Security number. We actually had a service number. So,
yes.
And it's interesting when I ask an audience of older veterans what their service number was. Every one of them can recite it. I ask them what their wedding anniversary is.
Yeah, can't remember.
Exactly. They can't. That's how important that service number was. So they can get a hold of you, and we'll put it on the screen, and so they can get a hold of you during the office hours, and make an appointment. I assume you'd like to have an appointment. I assume.
Right now, it's walk-ins. Eventually, as I keep things going and see how the amount of traffic is and veterans are coming in during the day, then I might go to that. But right now, it's a walk-in, come in, just sit down and have a conversation. I've got coffee,
There you go.
water. They can come in and have a good time, and we just sit and.
Good. And I highly encourage the viewers out there, especially the spouses and the family members of a veteran that refuses to go and do this, take them down there and do it. It's very important.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's no pride is challenged or anything like that. It's just best to do it. Gentlemen, I appreciate your time here. Thank you so very much, Phil, for coming from Baltimore. Ronnie, thank you.
Thank you.
I hope to see more of you. We'll get you back on the show.
Always a pleasure.
I am Fred Shinbur. Thank you for watching Through a Veteran's Eye.